Are you struggling to get clients to trust you? It's not about fancy marketing tricks. It's just about delivering real value. So in this video, I want to go over why trust is the cornerstone of any business relationship or engagement, especially if you're working in the B2B space. And today I want to go over the 3 key steps that it's going to take for you to build trust with your clients. Those are selling a hard outcome, selling a transformation, and leveraging that trust for a long-term engagement. Let's get into that. Okay, so selling a hard outcome. So what does that mean? Clients don't typically want to buy vague promises, right? The example I often think of is like a business consultant who might be like, yeah, I can help you grow your business, right? Which is very vague, kind of doesn't mean anything, right? There's a million ways you could help grow a business. You could hire people. You could lay people off. You could increase your prices. You could decrease your prices. Like those are like, it's so vague and so nebulous that it's very hard for somebody, a prospective client of yours, to actually feel excited about wanting to work with you. Clients want to buy clear, tangible results. The examples, again, I think of all the time is, I'm going to help you improve your marketing. And instead of saying something like that, you could say something like, I'm going to help you get 50 leads in a month or whatever that might be. So the way I would recommend communicating the value and your hard outcome or your promise, your tangible result, is by 1, setting clear KPIs. KPIs are key performance indicators or benchmarks. So setting the clear expectation of what is it exactly that you're going to be doing for your prospective customer. This makes it clear in their mind what is it exactly they're paying for, which is going to result in them being a little bit happier with what you're getting, but also having a clear, holistic understanding. In the marketing space especially, there's so many like marketing agencies or marketing consultants or coaches or whatever who they say they'll just help, but they don't really tell you how. And it can feel a little bit like just throwing a bunch of stuff on the wall and seeing what sticks. So what I would say is using clear KPIs and benchmarks are going to help you establish what that hard, tangible outcome is. The second thing I would do to communicate your value and to communicate your outcomes are to use case studies and testimonials. You want to use case studies and testimonials, 1, to show evidence of your past success, but secondarily, so that they know if they're the type of client you usually work with. It makes it very clear. If you work with, let's say, small businesses or restaurants, right? And all your past clients are restaurant owners, and this guy or gal is a restaurant owner, well, then they can kind of see that, oh, okay, this is kind of who it works for. This is how it works. And I know it's going to likely work for me since he's had success with other people in a similar vertical in the past. So that's kind of the second thing I would recommend when it comes to communicating your hard outcomes to somebody. And then the third one is to offer some form of assurance or risk reversal or a guarantee. I think this has become a little abused in the past few years, especially if you're like in the marketing space where people will be like, look, I'll do all this work and if it doesn't work, it's free. I'll give you all your money back. And I think that's an okay promise to make when you're starting out and if you don't have a lot of case studies and testimonials. But if you know what you're doing at this point, I think your assurance should be around like the outcome you're promising as opposed to just like, here, I'll give you all your money back if I fail. To me, that gives a little bit like newbie or desperation. I understand there are some instances where it may be useful, but I think for most people, offering a guarantee where you're basically saying, I'll work for free for you is not a great idea, especially if you don't have a lot of capacity to take on a bunch of free work. So I think a guarantee around like, working for somebody, maybe working until a certain outcome is met, or making sure that they like you and your team, and so they have a little bit of like maybe a right to cancel or something like that, is typically a better way to communicate that hard outcome. And then it lets them know what they can expect to get from you during their time working with you. Some of the big mistakes that I see when people are trying to determine what their hard outcome or their tangible promises are that they're very abstract, or this is the one I make all the time, they use too much industry jargon. They use too much like acronyms is always the joke, like CPL, CPA, ROAS, right? All these things that might mean something to you, but maybe don't mean anything to the prospective client, and it just confuses them. And a very famous quote, especially in the restaurant industry, which is where I'm pulling this from, is that a confused mind says no. It's part of the reason menus keep getting smaller and smaller. If you have too many options, unless you're the Cheesecake Factory, you're going to look at all these choices and be like, I don't know, I'll just get out a salad, right? And it's the same thing when it comes to working with you, right? If you keep throwing a bunch of stuff that confuses them and that kind of goes over their head, they're going to be so all over the place that they're going to just be like, I need to think about this. I need to process everything you just said. And you end up losing out on potential opportunities to work with people. The second biggest mistake that I will see when people are trying to sell these hard outcomes is that they're over-promising without a clear strategy to deliver on their promises. Again, this has become unfortunately very common, especially in the marketing space, where people will say something like, hey, I promise I'll get you 5 leads in a month. And then the next person says, well, I'll give you 6 leads in a month. And the next person says, I'm going to give you 10 leads. And the next person's like 50 and 100. And so people keep making these more outlandish claims just because they want to win the business, but they're not even certain if they can actually deliver on the promise. So main thing we want to think about is building a hard outcome is going to help you build immediate trust because clients know exactly what they're going to get and how they're going to measure success with you. Okay, so now that we know what our hard outcome or promise is, we want to sell a transformation. That's the second thing that we want to think about when we're trying to build trust with a client. Because when clients engage with you, yes, they may just be hiring you for a service, but they're ideally trying to invest in a better version of their business or themselves. They want something to be different than how it is right now. They want things to change. And so if you're somebody who sold something like CRM implementation, instead of talking about all the cool tools and automations and lists and all the things that they can get, you want to emphasize instead on how it's going to reduce their workload, how it's going to improve their customer satisfaction, how it's going to free up time for strategic growth, and help you present yourself as a more organized business. That is much more valuable than just a doodad that helps do workflows, right? So I always want to position it where you're addressing their actual pain points and show them how those pain points can be overcome and how when they're the new version of themselves, those pain points will exist a lot less or ideally be gone completely. Typically using things like storytelling to try to paint a vision of what their business or what their life could look like with this solution is going to be much more valuable than just saying, again, I have a cool doodad. And framing the transformation as a collaborative journey rather than a one-off project is going to help you position this as a true transformation in the eyes of your prospective customers. The mistakes I always see in the space is people are focusing too much on those features, right? Instead of what those features result in. It's kind of the difference of like, if you sold somebody, like if you were a construction company and you said, I have the best hammer in the world. It hammers nails in one shot. It's amazing. It's magical. Well, then that's cool. That's a great feature. But what I care about is, can you build the house, right? Is the house you're going to build me the one I want? It's great that you have this awesome hammer. If that helps you do the thing I need you to do, that's great. But what I actually want is that outcome that the hammer helps you get to, okay? Not allowing the client to visualize the end result is going to make it a lot easier for them to prospectively commoditize you and kind of just price shop you with every other feature seller out there in the space. So trying to stay focused on outcomes and how it actually helps your clients as opposed to the features and the doodads and the stuff that you think is really cool. Remember, people, they tend to buy emotionally and then justify it logically. As opposed to doing it the other way around. So selling a transformation can help communicate and tap into that emotional driver as to why they're here in front of you in the first place. Okay, so now you have your hard outcome. You know you're going to sell it as a transformation, not just a pile of features. The last thing you want to do is actually leverage the trust for a long-term growth for both them, but also for yourself. So once your trust with the client is established, you typically want to like deepen the relationship if you have more that can support them. So some key things that I would recommend for most clients is the first thing is, let's say you did a project for your initial client. You typically want to shift from a short-term project into like a long-term engagement where you can help your client in a better or more collaborative way. So a lot of times people will do a short-term project with their client, the client's done, and they just go, and that's it. And typically you're leaving a lot of opportunity on the table, and you're also leaving your client kind of out there on their own. They may need more support. And so if you have skill sets or opportunities that can actually help them grow their business, offering like a monthly retainer or a long-term engagement could actually be what's most beneficial for you in your business, but also what's beneficial for them. So that's kind of the first thing you always want to think about is when you sell an initial engagement, what is your back end offer is often what it's called is, what is your continuity offer? How do you keep clients in your ecosystem in a way that's mutually beneficial for both of you? The second thing you should do after a short-term engagement, if you want long-term growth, ask for testimonials and case studies, especially if you're brand new, especially if you don't have any. Happy clients are going to be some of your easiest marketing tools. It's also going to give you good feedback as to what's working, what needs improvement, and kind of help you build your portfolio as your company grows. So always asking for those case studies and testimonials from your clients and ask them throughout the journey, right? They may have gotten a couple of great results and then even better results later. Don't be afraid to update them. Last thing you want to do once you've established that initial engagement with clients is you want to ask for any potential referrals or any potential upgrades. So if your client loves what you're doing and they know a lot of people who also could use what you're doing, one of the easiest ways to grow your business is to literally just ask, hey, do you know anybody else who could use my service? I know that's like a very oversimplified thing to do, but the amount of times clients ignore this is drastic. It's so much. And so it's such an easy opportunity to get more customers for your business and also to build a little bit of community within your business. So asking for the referral or asking for the upsell, like, hey, we helped you with lead generation. We also offer SEO services. Is that something you're interested in? The amount of people who will say yes to you is much higher than you even realize. And it's a great way to deepen the relationship with the client while also increasing what we call customer lifetime value, which is how much one client account is worth to the business itself. So once clients are seeing value, they're more likely to stay, they're more likely to refer others, they're more likely to invest in other offerings. So don't take those things for granted and make sure you're utilizing them and you're deepening those relationships when the opportunity arises. Today we went over the 3-step process when it comes to building trust with your clients. The first thing is to focus on hard outcomes. The second one is to make sure you're selling a transformation. And the third one is to offer long-term engagements and leveraging those initial relationships. If you're somebody who is ready to implement strategies like this, I encourage you, take 2-3 of the things from today's video, implement them in your business, drop a comment below, let me know when it works, and let me know if I forgot anything. If there's something that you're utilizing that's working really well, drop it down below. I'd love to hear about it. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want more business development, lead gen, B2B videos like this, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time.